Hello. Today I want to talk to you about capturing and editing audio with Audacity. We'll first begin. I just want to mention that before you start any sort of sound project like podcasting or any kind of recording, you want to make sure that you set up your computer to make sure that like the system sounds and things like that aren't going to interrupt you. So I have some instructions on the website and in the attached handout. You should be able to find that on our website as well, about how to do that, whether you have a PC or a Mac. With the PC, you usually have to go into your system settings and click on sound. And then under sound, you can mute your system sounds that way. On a Mac, you typically have to go into System Preferences, click on Sound, and then move the Alert volume dial down to 0. And that will prohibit notifications and system sounds from interrupting your recording. So before I get started, I do just want to talk about why we choose Audacity for sound editing here in the CIP, why this is our first choice. And the biggest reason for that is that it is the same whether you're on a Mac or a PC. So some people like to use GarageBand because it might be a little bit more intuitive or it looks a little nicer. But with Audacity, it's a very robust tool and it's available for Mac or PC, unlike GarageBand. And it's free. And so right off the bat, you have sort of a tool that anyone can have access to as long as they have a laptop. And so we typically use Audacity just to sort of level the playing field and make sure everyone is using the same tool. So when you open up Audacity, this is what you're going to see. There's almost always a little pop-up that comes up with like a video or sort of like what's new in this version of Audacity. And there's always links to their support, their online support. So they have like a manual or a quick help. They have a lot of great information there if you have specific things that you need assistance with. But I highly recommend always taking a look at this little video that they link to just to see what is new with the newest version that you're running. I always get started by setting up my recording. You'll click on Audio Setup to get started. And this is where you can set all of your settings in advance. So if you have a microphone plugged in, you're going to want to click down here to recording device and choose the right microphone. So you'll see here, I don't have another one plugged in. If you have your microphone plugged in and you don't see it on this list, I would advise you to restart Audacity. Audacity is a little bit buggy. If you have plugged in a microphone after you opened Audacity, it won't pop up in this little menu. So you always need to restart or plug in your microphone before you open Audacity. So you always want to make sure that the right recording device is selected. And then the other thing I like to always make sure I do is set the recording channels to mono instead of stereo. And the reason that we choose mono really comes down to accessibility. So it makes sure that the same thing is happening in both ears in case you have someone who is hearing impaired. So in order to get started recording in Audacity, all of your recording controls are going to be right over on the left-hand side at the top. And anybody that's ever had any sort of media player, these buttons are going to look pretty familiar. So you've got pause, which allows you to pause during playback. The play button allows you to play what's on the timeline. The stop button allows you to stop the playback and the recording. The skipping buttons allow you to skip all the way to the beginning or the end, which can be helpful in longer projects. And then obviously the red dot is the recording button. So you click that when you're ready to record. I'm going to go ahead and just click on record. As you can see, it's recording my voice as I speak. You can see that little sound wave there. All the pauses, like that one that I just did. I'm going to hit stop. That's enough for me just to sort of demonstrate what this looks like. So yeah, that's what your recording looks like once you click record. And now I want to show you these editing tools as well. So you've got your selection tool. This allows you to select certain parts of a track to edit. You use this just like you would a cursor by clicking and dragging to highlight a section on your timeline. And this is where you're going to make like splits and cut things out and delete certain parts, that kind of thing. And I'll talk about that here in a minute, but that is the tool that you're going to use to make your initial selection. You also have your envelope tool, and this allows smooth volume changes to be made over the length of a track by sort of like embedded volume control points. So if you click on this, you can adjust all of the audio volume at once. You can click and make different little points and drag them down. This is really great for smooth fades when it comes to like background music, fading in and fading out. So I can like add more points down here. And if this was a song, I could fade it back in toward the end. So that gives you some control over fading in and fading out easily. So you've got the zooming and fitting features here. Those are pretty zooming in and zooming out. That's pretty obvious. You might not realize how important that is in audio editing, but zooming way out allows you to see a sort of bird's eye view of your project. And zooming in allows you to make really fine cuts, like if you have a cough or a sneeze, or I don't know, you dropped your pencil or ruffled a piece of paper. It allows you to get, really up close to what you need to edit to make it the smoothest edit that you can. You've also got these fitting tools here. And this one allows you to fit the selection to the width of your project. So like if I click on my cursor tool here and I just want to edit this selection right here, I can click that button, and that is how granular I can get. It's like a whole entire second. It takes up the whole span of my screen, so I can make really fine edits to that. This button allows you to adjust your whole entire project to the width. So that is the true bird's eye view. So even if you had 45 minutes of recording, if you click that button, you're going to see all of it all at once. So those four buttons are really important. And then I would be remiss to not mention the undo and redo buttons, which are always important with any kind of project that you have. Now, if you want to split your tracks, delete silences, delete certain parts of your track, you can easily do that by following the sort of, I want to call it like a recipe for whatever you want to do. And I have this little table in the handout and on the website that tells you sort of like, this is what I want to do, this is how I get to it. So there's sort of an intention and an action. And if you just want to separate things into multiple clips, you can do that. So you will position your playhead, like say I wanted to pause right here or maybe right here, because this is a natural pause. I want to pause right here. It looks like I'm transitioning between two different things. So I'm going to just put my little playhead right there where I want it to split it in two. And then I'm going to go up to Edit, Audio Clips, and Split. And it's just going to take it into two. So if I want to move something around and I want a true pause, I can just click up here. If I hover over this, like where the name is, a little hand pops up and I can move things left and right. I can also, like, if I need a new track, I can click on Tracks, add a new mono track, and then I can easily bring that down to another track as well. So if I want to delete a part of my recording, then again, click on that selection tool and say I want to delete this part right here that I was mentioning earlier, or maybe just the pause that's the next to it. I need it to be a little closer together. Then I can click and drag to select that part, and then I can go to Edit, Remove Special, and then Split Delete. So now I've deleted that. I can move this over, and there's far less space. And you'll see that that's white because it's still selected. You just have to click off of that so the selection is cleared. In order to better organize your clips, you can also rename tracks. You can reorder them by clicking the down arrow next to, you have lots of options if you click this little arrow that's next to different tracks. So you can move tracks up and down. Obviously you can't move the top track up any further, but you can see it differently. You can change the wave color, things like that. You can also just rename them so that you have like a narration track, background music track. If you have multiple speakers, like you're doing an interview, you can also rename them accordingly. So that's always really helpful. And then in terms of saving and exporting, as with any project, it's always recommended that you save often. In Audacity, you want to always save an editable version of your project and a final version that you can actually share with people. So I kind of like to look at this as like a Microsoft Word document versus PDF. So you've got one that is a working document, one that is more fixed and that you can send to somebody else that doesn't have Microsoft Word but has a PDF reader. That's the same case with Audacity. So you're going to save something as a project file. So you go to File, and save project as. You want to save often. If you are ready, like you have a finished podcast or finished recording, it's all edited and tidied up, you can go ahead and click on File and then Export. And you can choose any of these things to export it as. We always recommend, just in terms of size, to do MP3. You can always do it as like a WAV file, but we recommend MP3 just because it makes it a much smaller size and there's very, very little loss in quality, if at all. It won't be noticeable, especially for something like a podcast. So anyway, yeah, this should give you the very bare bones of how to capture and edit audio in Audacity. As long as you have a really nice microphone and a quiet space to record, that's really key. There are obviously tons of advanced options for editing audio and getting a higher quality sound if you really need to sort of cut sounds out. But as long as you can minimize how much you need to do to your audio when you're originally recording it with a quiet space and a good microphone, really that's most of the battle. So I'm keeping this pretty simple today. We can always get into more advanced features. There are tons and tons and tons of features that you can explore. You can always, again, click on Help, get quick help, go to the manual, and let's see. Yeah, I mean, just tons of how-tos. There's a guide. You can click on any one of these things and it'll give you a detailed description of exactly what to do. This, I will just mention real quick, this is what a stereo track would look like. You've got the left and the right channels there. So if you wanted to make this into a mono, you would click that down arrow and it would give you the option to split that track into mono tracks. So just a little heads up there. All right, well, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, need any further assistance, please just let me know, and I look forward to working with you. Thanks a bunch.